We all know that watches can get expensive, but the sheer amount of wealth that people are willing to shell out on them is just plain crazy. But it isn't that simple. After all, how can we understand the whims of the uber wealthy? Hello and welcome to our channel. Today, we're going to tell you about some of the most luxurious watches that money can buy. So, without further ado, let's get started. When you consider that everyone always has the current time from every time zone on Earth in their pocket, a mechanical watch that costs more than a home can seem like an odd investment. However, timepieces today serve a purpose beyond simply displaying the time. To put it another way, their primary function is not timekeeping. In contrast, they are more akin to practical jewellery, giving men the opportunity to treat themselves to a snazzy new accessory, while also knowing that it will serve a practical purpose beyond just aesthetics. The best timepieces, without a doubt, have a charming aesthetic appeal. However, like an Italian sports vehicle, your investment will also get you cutting-edge technology and years of tradition. That makes it easier to justify the expense than if you were just buying a huge diamond ring for more than most people's mortgages. Thus, the world's most costly timepieces can be roughly divided into two categories. On the more conventional end of the spectrum are the 6- and even 7-figure clocks that pack unbelievable amounts of complexity into impossibly small housings. Here, you can find the best of the Swiss old guard and the occasional disruptive new brand in terms of high-end timepieces that rely solely on cogs and gears to display planetary motion or chime like Big Ben. On the other hand, there are watches that cost a lot because they are crafted from rare and valuable materials such as gold, diamonds, and even pieces of meteorite. Flashy ornamentation. Sometimes, the best way to let people know that you spend the GDP of a Pacific island for your watch is to make it shiny. Graph Diamond's first presentation at Baselworld didn't seem particularly tentative at first glance. It's likely that the unreal feeling was brought on by the Graph Diamond's Hallucination Quartz watch, the most costly wristwatch ever made at $55 million. Incredibly large and rare coloured diamonds, totaling 110 carats, are prong set in platinum to create the bracelet's exceptional value. Fancy vivid yellow, fancy intense pink, fancy intense blue, fancy light pink, fancy light grey blue, fancy green and fancy orange are all extremely uncommon diamond hues. Hearts, pairs, marquises, emeralds, radiants and rounds are only a few of the many shapes employed. I have described the many different kinds of rare diamonds that are used in the Graph Diamond's Hallucination watch, down to the colour and cut. How does the watch component fit in here? If you look closely enough, you may make out the tiny quartz dial set with pink diamonds that displays the time with extreme precision. There is no need for a power reserve or automatic winding, as this timepiece will remain running for months on end without interruption. Lawrence Graph, chairman of Graph Diamonds, conceived of creating this exquisite piece of haute horology. After all, nobody else in the company's bottom echelons couldn't even conceive of a $55 million watch without raising an eyebrow or two. Patek Philippe is a brand that often comes up in conversations about high-quality timepieces. The historical label is among the world's oldest and most revered that is still in production, and its watches are among the most intricate, classic, and undoubtedly pricey in the world. Popular Patek lines like the Nautilus, Aquanaut, and Calatrava typically start at $21,000 for base models, and go up in price with age and wear. In fact, the company's Grandmaster Chime Ref 6300A010, sold at a charity auction for $31 million, is the most expensive watch ever sold at auction. Chrono24, an online masterpiece for luxury timepieces, has listed the extremely rare Patek Philippe Grandmaster Chime 5175R001 for sale. The 2014 release marked the 175th anniversary of the company, and the watch features 2 dials, 20 complexities, 4 chiming mechanisms and a swiveling casing. The magnificent item, one of just 7 ever manufactured, is extremely rare and much sought after, and its price reflects its scarcity. The listing claims that this sweet ride may be yours for the low price of $50 million. Of course, it's a lot of money, especially when you realise that the Grandmaster Chime 5175R001 is extremely rare and was sold for pennies on the dollar compared to its current value, This type of investment piece is usually kept and passed down through the family for many generations, but the owner of this watch, who resides in Shanghai, appears to be eager to sell it at a discount. So, if you've got money to spare, then definitely consider buying this watch. In 2017, Paul Newman's 1968 Rolex Daytona sold for $15.5 million at Phillips Auction House in New York, cementing his position as the uncontested king of the watch world. The total price is $17,752,500, 12.5% buyer's premium included. At the end of 12 minutes of bidding, the watch was sold to a telephone bidder for the highest amount ever paid at auction for a wristwatch. The 6239 has a Valjoux 722 with 17 joules and 18,000 vibrations per hour, as well as a stainless steel bezel with a resolution of 300 units per hour and pump pushers for the chronometer. It came with either a white or black dial, much like the current Daytona. The dials were tri-coloured and featured the word Daytona above the register at 6 o'clock in black, white and red. This Daytona model was the first to place the tachymeter scale on the bezel instead of the dial. Manufacturing of the 6239 series began in the middle of that same year, 1963. The really personal bit about this watch is that Newman's wife engraved a message, "Drive carefully," in reference to his love for racing. Super Complication accurately describes the situation. According to Patek Philippe, this is the most complex timepiece ever created without the use of a computer in the design or production process. With a total of 920 components, including 430 screws, 110 wheels and 70 jewels, this one-of-a-kind timepiece was commissioned in 1925 and given to banker and watch collector Henry Graves. Graves panicked after spending $15,000 on his watch at the worst of the Great Depression. Had he put himself in mortal peril by doing so? People would resort to extreme measures to steal his watch. His daughter talked him out of throwing it into the lake on his property. The first time it was sold at auction in December 1909 to Sheikh Saud bin Mohammed Al Thani of the Qatari royal family for $9 million, it set a new record. The second time, after his death in November 2014, it set a new record for the highest price ever paid at auction. That sale established a new record for any watch at the time at £15 million, about $24 million. Dr. George Daniels travelled to Zurich in the middle of the 1970s. Even back then, he was recognised as a top European watchmaker thanks to a recent feat of horological wizardry that he had solved. Because his watches no longer required oil, which clogged the mechanisms and slowed them down, the coaxial escapement he developed allowed them to maintain their accuracy for much longer than before. This meant he was a major catch. On one occasion, while Daniels was sporting his yellow gold Space Traveller, a collector approached him and asked if he would sell it. Even after Daniels told the collector it wasn't for sale, he still attempted to purchase it. Daniels gave in at last, but he now regrets parting with the timepiece. Therefore, with a few adjustments, he produced this, possibly his greatest work. Quite a bit of ingenuity has been employed here. In the past, people would compare their watches to solar-powered timepieces to determine how precise it was. But here, mean solar and side real-time based trains take care of the math for you. Would you mind checking your phone? Yes, but the quality wouldn't be the same. Dr. Daniels once remarked, "When you're on the package tour to Mars, you need a watch like this," adding, "When utilising the telephone for long-distance calls, you could flip the chronograph into side real time to cut your bills by 3.555 minutes every day." Buying Olympus Mons in July 2019 at Sotheby's would have set you back a tidy £3.6 million, which may cancel out any savings you would have made on calling the in-laws from space. So that is all the time we had today, folks. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and do hit the bell icon to remain updated about all our future videos. See you all next time. Until then, goodbye.